Okay, so for this example, this is x2. What you can do here is, I have both of these websites open. I'm on iExcel and on mathway.com. What I'm going to do is I'm going to type in these equations into my box here. Y equals 4 parentheses 4. My exponent would be this icon underneath, or this box underneath the multiplication, so right there. X, make sure you click besides that to move that cursor down, so click anywhere to the right of that. Plus 6. So go ahead and hit enter there, or send it. What do you want? It asks you what you want to do there, so then you click on graph, and it's going to give you some of the information for the graph. Now, if we look at the graph that they give us here, so this part in the top is going to be important for the other topics. But for this one, you look at the graph, see where that dashed dotted line is. It is at the number right above the 5, which is the same as what we have on our iExcel graph right there. Okay, so then for this one, it is obvious that that one will be my answer. Now, just to make sure, what you could do is go ahead and check all the other options and see if it is that one or if it is not. So then, I have that graph there. I can just type in my next one. So y equals 6 parentheses 4 exponent x, click on the side to move it down, plus, I clicked on the wrong thing, plus 4. So make sure that's typed in correctly, send it. It gives you the graphs. So if you notice, this one has that dashed dotted line underneath the 5, which is not the same as what we have on our iExcel. So that one will not be the answer. Now you can go through the rest of these and check the same thing. Now for these graphs, one thing that you do want to note is that that last number, that number at the very end, will tell you how much the graph is going to move up from the origin or down. So it's going to tell you where that dashed line is. So for example, the plus 6 tells you it's going to be at positive 6 where you have that dashed line. Plus 4 tells us that your dashed line will be at positive 4, which it is not there. Minus 6 tells us the dashed line will be at minus 6, which is not there either. Plus 4, same as the second option, it will not be that one. So my answer for this one will be the first option there. Go ahead and click submit, go on to the next one. See, this one's a little bit easier because now they just give you one equation and you have to choose the correct graph from there. So go into your Mathway. I'm going to type in that equation now. Y equals negative 4 parentheses 3 exponent x minus 2. Hit enter. You have your graph. So I'm looking for a graph that has that dashed line at negative 2 on the y-axis. So looking at that first option, it could have been that one, but the graph is on the incorrect side. Looking at the second graph, it could have been that one, but that dashed line is at positive 2 instead of negative 2. Same thing with this one, it's on the wrong side and it's at positive 2. And then check that last option, that last answer choice. Negative 2. There you go. So that one will be my answer. That's the graph that matches that one. So that is x2. Let me go ahead and go to x3 real quick so I can show you what to do there. So you're going to go to x3 on iExcel. This one's asking you for domain and range. Anytime that you have exponential functions and they ask you for a domain of the graph, that is always going to be all real numbers. Always. So go ahead and select anytime that they ask you for domain, all real numbers. Don't even look at the other options. Okay? Now, when they're asking you for range, what you have to do is you have to look at that dotted line that is on the graph. So this dotted line right here, range is the y's. So where is that line on my y-axis? So on my y-axis, I have my line at 0. So that horizontal line is at 0 on the y-axis, and the graph is above that line, so that means greater than that line. So all real numbers, that's only for the domain. If we check this next answer choice after that, it says all y is greater than or equal to 0. If it is dashed, that means it is not including the line. So then in our inequality, if it has the line underneath, that means it cannot be the answer either. So that one is out. That one is out. What that means is it's going to have to be one of these last two options. Now, if we look at this fourth option, it says y greater than 0, which means all the y's have to be bigger than 0. Our last option says y less than 0, which means the y's have to be below the 0. So in this example, my y's will be above the 0. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and submit that one. And let's go on to the next example. Same thing here. So our dashed line is at the same number. So it is at the same number, then what that means is we are going to have the same answer choice. So this first one, all real numbers, it's for the domain. That is not my answer. This second option tells us that all the y's have to be less than 0 or below 0, which that is not true. They're all above 0. This third option tells us all the y's have to be above 0, so then that one would be our correct answer. Anytime that they're asking you for the range of an exponential, because you have that dashed line, you're never going to have the answer as one of these last two. That would be incorrect to do. So my answer is that third option right there. What is the domain of the function? So the domain of the function for this one, all real numbers. Okay, I'm going to go back to the topic list. I'm going to go back to X5. If at any point we need additional help, guys, just let me know. Anybody who's watching this video, let me know so I can upload a few more. That way I can try to answer any questions that you have and see how this is very simple. Some of these questions, you just type into the equation bar here on the left side on Mathway, and it'll give you the graph, it'll give you the information. Now, for this type of question, I would recommend highly go back and look at the notes that we did for exponential growth and decay. Now, if we look at this question, I'm going to type in the equation, but I need you to try to do these on your own, looking at the notes while you're doing them, because it's going to help you a lot. So Dan has $20 in the savings account. That means that his initial amount is 20. So that's where he's starting. So if you notice here on the left side, I am typing them into Mathway. You're going to have to be doing the same as well, but with your questions, your examples. And I'll do a few more. So 20 is your initial amount, then parentheses. It says here that he's earning 10% interest compounded annually. So what's happening here is it is growing. It is going to increase. If you look at the notes, you have to remember that we have to change percentages into decimals. So you're always going to have the number 1 and then plus or minus your percent, but as a decimal. Because this one is growth, we put a plus. If the money was decreasing or he would have less every time, then we would put a minus. So we're putting plus here, plus how much? 0.10. We have to change that percentage into decimal, and we're adding it to 1. You're always going to have that number 1 right there. And then what they're asking you is, how much will he have in 3 years to the nearest cent? So a cent meaning in terms of money in pennies. So here my exponent, that is my time, will be 3 years. Hit enter, and it tells me my answer there. So that means that after he's saved his money in the bank for 3 years at that interest, he will have a total of $26.62.